Welcome to Key Trades on this Tuesday, the 8th of March. As we move into the trading day in the States, we're taking a look at the Dow Industrial average, or the Wall Street cash, on the IG platform. And as we see some of those European markets move lower for the second day in a row, we seem at least still to have this upward trend in the Dow. But is that going to change during the US session? Then we'll take a look at gold as the breakout seems to be holding. Can we see any more money to be made on the upside? And then as we continue to witness this uptrend in oil, we saw a $40 print yesterday for one of the major oil markets, and money's been going into some of these commodity currencies like the Canadian dollar. We'll take a look at that in some more detail as well. But first of all, back to these indices, and we're taking a look at the Dow Industrial average and asking the question as to whether the markets have moved up as much as they're going to move up in this current run, or is there more to go? Here's Josh with the trade.
Dow's been seeing a massive rally recently. This is in line with what we've been seeing across in the European markets as well. Now, the beginning of today's session, we did see some heavy selling, in particular in the DAX. We thought that was going to bring the Dow back below a very key support level. Hasn't necessarily happened, and we've seen a bounce actually occur. So the Dow remains with an uptrend. Let's show you on the chart. This is the daily time frame we've got here. You can see that actually, we've come into a sort of zone of resistance where you have the 100 and the 200-day SMA alongside that 17,140, which is your support level from November 2015. If we look in terms of the hourly time frame, though, it's very telling. You can see here that essentially we've been trending within this sort of wider channel. But more recently, we're right at the top end of this channel, and we've now formed a smaller or thinner channel. Now, yes, we managed to break through that trend line support, but we didn't break through, crucially, the low from yesterday, 16,918. We can see here we rejected that level. We're moving higher now. This looks like we're likely to continue apace, and we would need to break below this 16,918 for us to think anything otherwise. Therefore, you're going to be looking at this initial resistance, 17,019, and then 17,097, which is yesterday's high.
And there's a bit of a conundrum going on as well in other aspects of the markets. As we see some of these equities move higher, we've also got gold either holding on to the gains we've seen recently or moving higher and sparking new one-year highs. Let's get back to Josh now and take a look at how best to trade spot gold.
Right, so this is gold on a 4-hour, and the interesting thing about gold recently is the fact that we just continue to create these symmetrical triangles. You can just pick out millions of them. You've got one in here, it then formed a bigger one, it then formed an even bigger one. We then saw the breakout, and we broke up above this 1263. Now, of course, looking on the hourly time frame, we then formed another symmetrical triangle just above that level. We are seeing the breakout from this, and yes, we're tentatively moving back towards the downside, towards this sort of 1273, which is your resistance point from yesterday. But we continue to create these higher lows, and now that we're breaking to new higher highs, I think that if we sort of sold back to this 1270 mark or into this 50-hour SMA, that would be likely to spark yet another move higher, with that 1280 mark from the 4th likely to be your first major resistance point, and then a breakout from there. You'd be looking towards 1300 as your major next resistance point.
Now, we've been witnessing a lot of money going into a lot of the commodities recently. Yes, there's been a little bit of froth taken off some of the metals, but we've seen none of the froth taken out of the oil markets. And as we see oil move higher, we've been witnessing some interesting activity around some of the commodity currencies like the Aussie, like the NOK, and also like the Canadian dollar. Let's take a look in some more detail now at the US dollar against the Canadian.
Much in the same way that the back end of 2015 was a very, very consistent uptrend for dollar CAD, we're seeing the complete inverse at the beginning of 2016. And this has really been continuing to bring us back down towards this 200-day SMA, which is essentially where price action has been over the past 2 days. If I show it on the hourly chart, you can see exactly how clear this trend is. Now, we continue to create those lower highs, and that really gives us good opportunity to get into the market. Of course, you need to recognize when those good opportunities are, but you can see today we've come into this trendline resistance. We've also come into this 50-hour SMA, and just above that, where typically we've only tentatively broken above that and sold off onto the next leg lower previously. It looks like we're seeing a next leg lower now. If I show it on the 30-minute chart, you can see that we have this first support level, which was the low from around about the sort of beginning of this morning, around about 8 o'clock, around the UK open. So that is the low that we're going to be looking to see broken. We get a close below this 13313. That should give us a good confident move for a move back down towards 13262 and probably onwards towards the downside.